This is how you choose the right drill bit without overcomplicating it. I'm going to go through the main materials that you'll come across and recommend some drill bits for each one. But it's not just that, because I'm also going to show you some comparisons as well, so that you can see why it's so important to make sure you're using the right bit in the right material. Now, make sure you stay until the end to find out my top picks and where to get them. So let's start off with wood. Now, if you're drilling into timber, MDF or anything similar to that, then you'll usually be using a brad point bit. That is one of these. Now, these are really recognisable because they've got this massive spike right in the centre. Now, you might be wondering, what is the point of that spike? Well, the reason it is it digs into the wood and stops the drill bit from wandering while you're drilling your hole. Now, compare this to a masonry bit. Now, you'll be able to see with this, it's completely different. You can see that masonry bit is much blunter compared to this, but let's see how it actually deals with the wood. So let's get a bit of timber from behind me. Let's start off by looking at the wood bit to see how well it actually does. So let's get this in here. Make sure we're in the right setting. So this is the brad point bit. You see, if I push it in close here, it's already starting to grip into the wood, if you can see that. So ready to go. 3, 2, 1. Straight in, straight out, and that hole is absolutely beautiful, so clean. So now let's compare that to the masonry bit. Get that secured in there. It's the same size, number 8. Not that that's going to mean anything because it's the wrong material. And now let's see the difference. Ready? This is the masonry bit right underneath it. I mean, look at that. Already you can see how much that is wandering. I haven't even been able to really make any progress in there, so we'll try here. I'm going to put some real force into it. Oh. And look, you can actually see it starting to burn. I don't know if you can see that smoke picking up on the camera, but that's why, yes, this is a good bit, but only for the right material. And I can show you up close as well to make sure you can actually see that. That's the lovely little hole done by the wood bit, and look at that. Just a small indentation. Obviously, as you can see, there's multiple different types of bits. This is just a demonstration with the masonry bit and the wood bit, but you can see how much difference that makes. Now, these wood bits also work well for softer materials like plastic or plasterboard. So in most cases, this could be your go-to for general fixing. Now, I'm sure you all know this, but remember, if you're putting screws into wood, then it's always worth drilling a small pilot hole first. Not only because it's going to help everything going cleaner, but it's also going to stop the material from splitting as well. Okay, so now we've got these bits out, so why don't we have a look at the masonry? Now, if you're drilling into brick, block or concrete, you need that masonry bit that we've just used. So while it was useless in the wood, this is where it's really going to shine. As I mentioned before, the masonry bits have a blunt head, and this is because they don't cut like wood or metal bits. They actually work with the hammer function. So again, if I bring you over for a little closer look. So we've got to make sure it's in the hammer function, of course, because it's the masonry drill bit. Pop that one there. 3, 2, 1. Absolutely flew through it. Now, really, this is going to be a bit of a waste of time, but I'm going to try it with the wood one as well. Now, I think it's quite predictable what's going to happen here, but it will be a good demonstration as to why one is so much better than the other in this circumstance. This is really a complete waste of a drill bit here because I know what's going to happen. But here we go. This is a wood drill bit. You can see the brad point, which is going to be absolutely decimated by this concrete block. 3, 2, 1. And that's all she wrote. She ain't going any further than that, and you can see it's already started to blunt that tip as well. So, I mean, again, that is just a demonstration that we all knew the outcome of that, but it does show the difference between those two. Now, that is also a good demonstration of why drill settings are so important, because if that hadn't been in hammer function, even though it was the masonry bit, this still wouldn't have performed as well as it did when it's in hammer mode, so it's really important to check those functions. And if you're doing heavier work in concrete, that's where your SDS or SDS Plus drill bits will come in, because they're designed specifically for that kind of job. Now, we've had a look at masonry, we've had a look at wood, so I'll get this concrete block out of the way, and it's time to have a look at metal. If you're drilling into steel, aluminium or anything similar, then you're using a HSS drill bit. Now, these have a sharp and even point, so they can cut cleanly through material rather than hammer through it. So these are all about steady pressure and control, and importantly, no hammer mode here, because you don't want to go too fast. Let's start the demonstration by showing you the drill bit that's actually meant to use with it. So we'll start with the HSS one, we'll go for 6.5. Let's bring you over again, shall we? I'll give you a good view of the action. So let's make sure that we're in the right function again. This is the correct one, HSS, but as I say, slower speeds will tend to work better than this, especially on the harder materials. So I'm going to whack it down to speed mode number 1. There we go, so that one's gone through, and you can see the actual tip is held up really nicely as well, which I predict we're not going to find when we use the other drill bits. So let's have a look at the other bits. So let's compare this then to, let's do it with a masonry. Well, again, I feel like now we're just going to be really finding that this is not going to go through. So we use a very similar sized bit. It's quite possible that you can get overheating on your bits while you're doing this. So this is where, obviously, when you're using the HSS bits, you can use cutting oil and things like that to make sure you don't have too much heat going through the drill bit. So let's see the masonry bit. I feel like I'm going to give up on this quite quickly, but let's see. Ready? 3, 2, 1. That's hilarious. There's literally no point carrying on, because as you can see, nothing is happening. We got the smallest little dent there that you will ever see. And again, just for the purpose of the demonstration, let's see how that shapes up with a wood bit as well. Here we go, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I mean, this is, yeah, there's literally no point going any further with that at all, is there? Because look at that. It's just the brad point spinning around. That's all that's happened there. Nothing else. Okay, so that is again a really good demonstration of why it is important to use the right bits. Now, I will actually show you a multi-construction bit as well. Great bits for any materials really. They're meant to be used in any material, but they're not going to be as powerful. Efficient is probably the better word for it. Now, to be fair, even with a multi-construction bit, generally you'd be using them in your wood or your masonry, but let's see how it gets on in the metal. So you can see I'll stop there. So you can see it is much, much slower at going through it than the actual design bits for it, but you can see how much better it has been than the other bits as well. So you can see that if you were to go long enough with the multi-construction bits, this would definitely end up getting through it. I can also show you that in the wood as well, just to give you a bit of a comparison for that. Now really, the multi-construction bits are good for time saving, because you're not going to have to spend so long changing bits depending on the materials that you're in. So you can see the holes that were there from when I did this previously. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, we'll up that speed again. Ready? I mean, look at that. That is flown through. So that is, and that isn't just a wood specific bit, that is the multi-construction bit. So again, you can see there, that was the wood bit, those are the masonry bits, and that multi-construction bit here has still made a really good hole and gone through really nicely as well. When it comes to doing things like tiles or glass, that also has another type of bit, but that's just because of how fragile the materials are. Now, I do have some I can show you here. So these are Vaunt's tile and glass drill bits. Now these have a pointed tip design to stop the surface cracking. I can show you. You can see here this pointed tip, but what I'm going to say is that it's also worth going slowly if you are using these in these fragile materials, because otherwise, if you start to rush, that's what's going to cause damage to the surface that you're working with. So let's have a look at these bits in use. I've got a lovely tile there. So that's in there now. Special tile drill bit. Remember to put it back into a slow speed. Make sure it's on the right mode. All right. That is perfect. Flew right through. I'll give you a closer look. As you can see right there, it's a really nice clean hole, no damages, no scratches. The closest we came to damaging it was when I nearly chopped the drill through it at the end. So I won't do that again when I try it with the next bit. Right, so now if we try it with the multi-construction bit. Right, still a low speed in the correct speed setting. So I won't do that again when I try it with the next bit. Right, so you can see that it did go through, and actually it went through quite nicely, but there is a little bit of damage around the hole there, so clearly that wasn't the right bit. Now, when it comes to which brands we'd actually recommend when it comes to the drill bits, well, all your classics have got them. If you're running Makita, DeWalt, Milwaukee, then all of these have a good range of drill bits, and Bosch as well have got a really good selection. If you're looking for something heavy duty, then check out Milwaukee Shockwave, DeWalt Extreme or Bosch Expert, and it's also worth having a look at the Vaughn X range as well. Now, if you're looking for bits that are a bit more budget friendly, then check out Vaughn's range because they've got a massive selection, and their Vaughn X bits, as I said, are really heavy duty as well. If your drill is struggling, it's usually not because of the drill, it's just the wrong bit for the material. So keep it simple, match the bit to what you're drilling into and make sure it fits your tool. I mean, you can see from the demonstrations that I've done there, I've made an absolute mess of the desk, but it does show you the difference of using the right material. Of course, you can get all this range that we've seen here today and loads more at its.co.uk.